All right, welcome back. So, John, I want to come back, as you mentioned, talk a little bit about cash flow, and what impacts cash flow. As we look at the cash flow statement, we saw that there can oftentimes be a big difference between what we see on the income statement in terms of profit, what we see on the cash flow statement in terms of cash. And so, how does that happen? Well, if you turn to this page in your handout, this is right after the cash flow statement. There are a number of factors that can impact a company's cash flow. We refer to these as cash flow killers. The first category of cash flow killers relate to profitability and usually poor profitability. And so what could happen here? Well, one, you could either have low sales, or sometimes even worse, seasonal sales, where your sales go really high and then go really low. Almost every company has some seasonality in their revenues, which causes issues with cash flow. Or the issue could be that your margins are deteriorating. Either your gross profit margins or even your operating profit margins could be steadily going down, and that could impact your cash flow. Or what I see a lot of times with fast growing companies, revenue fast growing, is that their overhead is growing even faster as they're adding more people, as they're expanding their office space, as they're taking on more expenses. Their overhead is outgrowing their revenue, and that creates a burden in terms of cash flow. The second area that we see that impacts cash flow is what's cleverly referred to as crummy cash conversion, meaning being able to turn profits into cash. And so how could that happen? Well, one could be in terms of accounts receivable. We're making sales, but we're not collecting our money from our customers, and we're seeing those days receivable slowly edging higher and higher. I see that with a lot of small, young companies that don't have appropriate policies and procedures in place for collecting their money. Also, sometimes we see this with companies with inventory, that as our sales grow, our inventory may be even growing even faster, and we're not calculating those inventory days. And so before we know it, we have way too much inventory, much of which may be unsellable, that we may have to liquidate in some fashion. Or poorly managed payables, that either we're not paying our vendors fast enough, or in some cases, paying our vendors too quickly. I have some clients that they pay their bills as soon as the bill comes in, whether it's due in 30 days, 60 days, they pay the bill as soon as it comes in, which is great for the vendors. They're getting their money quick, but that could certainly impact your cash flow in a negative way as well. And then the third category of cash flow killers relates to the way that we're financing our business, either with debt terms from the bank that are unfavorable, we're paying too much in terms of either principal or interest, or we've borrowed too much money, and that's impacting our cash flow. I have one client here in Atlanta. It's a technology company, and he bought another company, and in doing so, took out a very large SBA loan. And those monthly payments are creating a huge issue for him, because the company is profitable, but they're not creating enough cash to make those monthly principal payments. Huge impact on his cash flow. So having too much debt or a bad capital structure, we'll talk more about that next week when we talk about the financing of your business. Or in some cases, not having enough debt, not having access to like a line of credit, where just for very short-term financing, not being able to access cash when we need to. So these are all examples of factors, internal factors, that can cause problems for us in terms of our cash flow.